Before I say another word, do this. Go to your charting software right now and delete every single indicator you have loaded onto that screen. The moving averages, the MACD, the RSI, the stochastics, the Bollinger Bands, the 19 colored lines that turn your price chart into a bowl of tangled spaghetti. Delete them, all of them. If you cannot bring yourself to delete them permanently, at the very least turn them off for the duration of this video. Because everything I'm about to tell you will be wasted breath if you are still staring at a screen designed to hide the only thing that has ever mattered. I traded through panics that wiped out fortunes older than most countries. I made millions. I lost millions. I made them back, and I lost them again. I was called the boy plunger, the great bear of Wall Street, the most feared speculator of my age. And I did all of it without a single one of the indicators you worship today. Not because I was too primitive to have them, but because I understood something the makers of those indicators are quietly counting on you never to figure out. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to trade differently, or you are going to keep losing. Those are the only two doors. Let me tell you what an indicator actually is. An indicator is a mathematical formula applied to a price. That is all it is. Every moving average, every oscillator, every momentum tool you have ever used takes the price that already happened and rearranges it into a smoother, prettier shape. Read that again slowly. It takes the price that has already happened. It is arithmetic performed on the past. It is a photograph of a road you have already driven down, and you are trying to steer your car by staring into it. The RSI does not know the future. The MACD does not know the future. They cannot, because they are built entirely out of yesterday's closing prices. When your indicator finally flashes its beautiful signal, the crossover, the divergence, the overbought line, the move it is describing has already begun, sometimes already ended. You are not early. You are not even on time. You are a man arriving at the train station to buy a ticket for a train that left the platform 10 minutes ago, and you are congratulating yourself on your timing because the schedule on the wall confirmed the train existed. In my day, we had the ticker tape, a thin ribbon of paper spitting out of a glass dome, printing the name of a stock and the price at which it had just traded. That was it. No colors, no lines. No app that buzzes in your pocket. And do you know what I learned by sitting in front of that tape for hour after hour, day after day for years? I learned to read the only thing that has ever told the truth on any exchange in the history of the world, price, and its brother, volume. That is it. That is the whole secret, and it is so simple that people refuse to believe it, because a truth that plain cannot possibly be worth the money they paid for their fancy software. Here is why they refuse to believe it. Human beings do not want the truth. They want comfort, and an indicator is comfort. It gives you a reason. When you lose, you do not have to say, I was wrong about the market. You get to say, the signal failed. You get to blame the tool. You get to go looking for a better tool, a better setting, a better combination of tools. The 14 period this crossed with the 200 period that. You will spend years of your life doing this. I have watched 1,000 men do it, in my century and now in yours. They optimize, they backtest, they tweak. They add one more indicator to confirm the first indicator, and then a third to confirm the second, and they build themselves a cathedral of confirmation. And inside that cathedral they slowly go broke. Because you cannot confirm the truth with a copy of itself. If 10 indicators are all built from the same price data, then 10 indicators are telling you the same thing in 10 costumes. It is one witness wearing 10 hats, and you have convinced yourself you have assembled a jury. Now, I am not a cruel man, and I did not come here only to take your toys away. I came to give you the one thing you actually need. The one instrument I traded on that beat every fortune teller's contraption then and beats every algorithm's contraption now. But before I hand it to you, you have to understand why you have failed with everything else, because if you do not understand the why, you will simply take my one thing and pile 19 indicators on top of it and ruin it too. I have seen that done as well. You have failed because you were trying to predict. The entire indicator business is built on the fantasy of prediction that if you find the right formula, you will know what happens next. You will not. I never knew what happened next. Not once in my entire career did I know the future. The men who tell you they can predict the market are either lying to you or lying to themselves. And the second kind are more dangerous because they are sincere. I did not predict. I observed, and I reacted, and I followed. The difference between those two things, predicting versus following, is the difference between the poorhouse and the fortune. Everything I ever earned, I earned by being a follower of the market's actual behavior, not a prophet of its imagined intentions. So sit with that discomfort for a moment. The screen is empty now, just the price. Just the bars or the line or the candles, the raw record of what buyers and sellers actually did with their actual money. It feels naked, doesn't it? It feels like you have lost your instruments and you are flying blind. That feeling, that specific, uncomfortable feeling, is the feeling of standing face to face with the truth for the first time. Most traders never make it past that feeling. They rush to put the indicators back on within the hour, the way a frightened man turns the lights back on. But you are going to stay in the dark with me a little longer, because it is only in that dark that you can finally see the one thing that has been glowing there the whole time. That empty chart in front of you is not empty at all. It is the most information-rich document in the entire financial world, and you have been ignoring it your whole trading life because it was buried under paint. So let me show you what I saw on that ticker tape, and what you can now see on that clean price chart, the one indicator I never deleted, because I never had to draw it. The market draws it for you, every single day, in every single instrument, for free. The one indicator is the behavior of price itself at the levels that matter. Some call it price action. I called it reading the tape. The name does not matter. What matters is this. The market is not a machine grinding out random numbers. It is a living record of human decisions, fear, greed, hope, and pain, converted into buy and sell orders. And those decisions cluster. They pile up at specific prices. And the way price behaves when it arrives at those piled up levels tells you, more honestly than any oscillator ever could, what the crowd is actually going to do with its money. Let me make this concrete, because I do not deal in vague inspiration. I deal in what makes and loses money. Watch a stock climb to a price it has failed to break through twice before. That price is not a line on a chart. That price is a graveyard. It is the exact spot where, on two previous occasions, the sellers overwhelmed the buyers and drove the price back down. Every trader who bought near that level and got hurt is sitting there, waiting, praying to get back to even so they can sell and escape. That is real. Those are real orders waiting to hit the market. No formula told you they were there. The price history told you, plainly, if you were willing to simply look. That level is what I called a pivotal point, and pivotal points were the beating heart of everything I ever did. Now here is where you stop predicting and start following, which is the lesson from before made real. The amateur, staring at that graveyard level, tries to guess. Will it break through or won't it? He takes a position based on his guess. He is gambling. I never gambled at the pivotal point. I waited at it. I let the market show me. If price came up to that level and pushed through it decisively, with conviction, on expanding volume, the tape quickening, prints getting larger and faster than the market itself had answered the question. The sellers who lived at that graveyard had been consumed. The supply was exhausted. And a stock that eats through its overhead supply and keeps going is a stock telling you, in the only language that cannot lie, that it wants to go higher. Then I bought, not before. After the market had spoken, I was late by the amateur's standard and exactly on time by the truth standard. And notice what did the work there, not a prediction. The break of the pivotal point plus the surge of volume. Volume is the second half of the one indicator, and I will not let you forget it. Price tells you the direction. Volume tells you whether to believe it. A price move on thin, dying volume is a whisper, and whispers lie all the time. That is your false breakout, your bull trap, the move that sucks you in and reverses. A price move on heavy, swelling volume is a shout, and when the whole crowd shouts in one direction with real money behind it, that is a fact you can stand on. Every important move I ever caught was announced in advance, not by a signal line crossing another signal line, but by volume rising up underneath the price like a tide lifting a ship. Learn to feel that tide, and you will never need the oscillator again. Now, I must tell you the harder half, because it is the half that separates the men who read this correctly from the men who will misuse it. Reading price at the pivotal point does not only tell you when to get in, it tells you instantly and without mercy when you are wrong. This is the part the indicator crowd can never give you, and it is worth more than everything else combined. When I bought a stock as it broke through its pivotal point, I had already decided the exact price at which I would admit I was mistaken. If the breakout was genuine, the stock should not come back and sink meaningfully below that level. That is the whole logic. The supply was supposed to be exhausted. So, if price broke out and then fell back through the pivotal point, back into the graveyard, then my read was wrong. The move was false, and I sold immediately, without argument, without hope, without waiting to see if it comes back. The price action that told me to buy was the same price action that told me to leave, and I obeyed it both times with equal speed. Do you understand what a gift that is? Your indicator never tells you that you are wrong. It just gives you a new signal to justify holding on, and then another, while your loss grows into the thing that ends careers. But price at a pivotal point gives you a clean, unarguable line. On this side I am right, on that side I am wrong. It hands you your exit before you ever need it. Every account I ever destroyed, in my youth, I destroyed by ignoring that line, by hoping, by averaging down into a loser, by telling myself a story about why the price was lying. The price was never lying. I was lying to myself, and the market simply presented me with the bill. So the one indicator does two jobs that no formula can do. It tells you when the crowd's conviction is real, through the behavior of price and volume, at the levels where real orders live. And it tells you the exact moment your judgment has failed, so you can cut the loss while it is still small enough to survive. Entry and exit, both written in the same honest hand. This is why I could be wrong far more often than I was right and still build fortunes, because when I was right, the move was real, and I let it run. And when I was wrong, the price told me early, and I was gone before the wound was deep. Your indicators, by hiding this from you, have trained you to do the precise opposite, to cut your winners early because a line said overbought, and to ride your losers into the ground because no line ever had the honesty to say, you are wrong, get out, turn that around. And you have turned around your entire trading life. Let me now put the whole thing in your hands as a way of living in front of the market, because a tool you cannot repeat is a trick, and I am not here to show you a trick. I am here to change how you stand at the screen for the rest of your career. You now understand the truth of the empty chart. You understand that price and volume at the pivotal levels are the one indicator, that they announce real conviction and reveal your errors. So here is how you carry it, day after day, so that it becomes not a technique you remember, but a nature you possess. First, you become a student of the levels before you ever place a trade. Each day, before the opening, you look at your instrument with your naked, honest chart, and you mark the graveyards, the prices where the market turned before, where it stalled, where the crowd got trapped. You are not predicting what price will do at those levels. You are simply noting where the questions will be asked. You are marking the doorways. Then you wait, and you let the market walk toward one of them, and you watch how it behaves when it arrives. This is patience, and patience is not a virtue in this business, it is a weapon. I made the largest sums of my life not by trading constantly, but by sitting, by waiting for price to come to my pivotal point and declare itself. The money, as I have said before and will say until I have no breath left, was never made in the buying or the selling. It was made in the waiting. The clean chart makes that waiting possible, because it stops your indicators from screaming a false alarm every 20 minutes and dragging you into trades that never should have been. Second, you demand that the market prove itself, and you let volume be the judge. When price reaches your level, you do not act on the arrival, you act on the behavior. Does it slice through with force and rising volume? That is conviction. That is your signal to follow. Does it stall, drift, poke through weakly on fading volume, and slip back? That is a lie. You stand aside and keep your capital, which you have not lost, which means you have effectively won. Standing aside is a position. Not trading is a decision. The empty chart lets you make that decision with a clear head, instead of being whipsawed by a crossover that means nothing. Third, and hear me, because this is the one that saves your life, you obey your exit. The instant the price violates your read, you decided your line before you entered. When price crosses back to the wrong side of the pivotal point, you are out. No story, no hope, no averaging down, no just a little longer. A speculator who cannot take a small loss will, with the reliability of gravity, eventually take a catastrophic one. I know this not from theory. I know it because I went bankrupt more than once learning it, and the lesson was carved into me with a knife. Learn it from my scars instead of your own, and you will have gotten the cheapest education in the history of this profession. And underneath all three of these lies the thing the indicators were really protecting you from all along, yourself. The reason none of your tools ever worked is not that the math was bad. It is that the enemy was never the market. The enemy was the hope that made you hold a loser, the fear that made you dump a winner, the greed that made you oversize, the boredom that made you trade when you should have sat on your hands. No indicator can fix those, because those live in you, not in the price. But the clean chart, the pivotal point, the honest line between right and wrong, that framework forces you to confront yourself. It gives your discipline something solid to grip. It replaces the endless, comforting, useless search for a better signal with the hard, real work of governing your own emotions. That is the whole game. It always was. I traded human nature, and human nature never changes, which is exactly why a man who died long before your software was ever written can still hand you the only tool you need. The instruments changed. The screen got prettier. The crowd is still afraid at the bottom and greedy at the top, still trapping itself at the same graveyards, still shouting with volume when it finally means it. So here is what I want you to do now, and this is the last thing I will ask of you. Keep that chart clean. Do not reach for the switch and turn the indicators back on the moment this video ends, the way a frightened man reaches for the light. Sit in the honest dark a while longer. Go to your instrument tonight and mark 3 pivotal levels, 3 graveyards with nothing but your own eyes and the raw price. Then tomorrow do not trade. Just watch how price behaves when it reaches them, and watch what the volume does when it gets there. Watch it prove itself, or expose itself. Do that for a week before you risk a single dollar, and you will begin to see the tape the way I saw it across 100 years and a glass dome full of paper. And when you have seen it, really seen it, you will never again pay for a formula that shows you the road you have already driven. Delete the indicators, keep the truth, and come back and tell me what the tape showed you. I will be reading it right alongside you, the same way I always have. Now go, the market is waiting, and so is the only lesson that ever mattered.